I plan on buying more Bitcoin exposure soon using the BitU ETF. And I'm not just going to buy at any random price point. I'm going to buy through fib extensions, fib retracements, and overall bigger picture, support. Because in my opinion, it's very, very important. And this is just what I'm doing, and I'm not telling anyone to copy. I hope no one copies. I'm just sharing with you guys what I'm doing and how I'm taking advantage of a Bitcoin swing trade for what I expect to be much, much higher prices later this year. Now, right now, a lot of that Iran Israel war scares have been basically faded away. We're waiting to hear some potential negotiations between the US and Iran, and we'll see how that evolves. But so far, everything's looking good. So, the primary thing I believe that will be in focus soon, in my own opinion, is going to be, of course, the tariff and inflation news. Now, I couldn't find the article, but I saw an article earlier today and it's a rumor that if the next CPI report comes in below 2.3%, it's very likely we can expect a 75 basis point rate cut very soon, earlier than expected. But of course, a lot is a rumor and it's mostly all speculation. So I'm going to continue to focus on purely my charts, how I make sense of the structures, and where I think value is at for the most part. Now, I do have 40K invested into BitU, and I plan on buying three more buy orders with $10,000 each for an overall 30K additional Bitcoin exposure with BitU. So the way I'm going to break this down is when it comes to the short, I'm going to go over the bigger picture in case a lot of you are new. It's going to give you guys a better understanding of how I'm making sense of this. So in 2024, we had three deep value dips. At this moment in time, it was below 55K. Before we had a rally breaking previous swing highs, and then it tops out and eventually comes down to retest an overall retracement for the breakout move. And then within this move, we have two dips within it. The first one holding above the 0.5 to show that there is enough bullish momentum to come in it, allowing the price to have a bullish correction. Obviously not breaking this swing high. And then coming down lower, breaking the 0.5 retracement before going much, much higher. And of course, it fluctuates as it goes higher. But in the current picture, right, in 2025, 80K and below being devalued, three devalue dips, and then we have a rally. This one's much more significant though. It breaks previous resistances. And now, just like in that 2024 setup, and I'm going to explain to you guys why I also believe this is going to probably play out similar to that. It's mostly due to macro stuff, but we have a correction happening and we're still in a bearish trend. We are still in it because this swing high didn't break any previous swing highs, and instead now we're consolidating and still holding above that 120 moving average. The overall retracement for this move higher, that was also a breakout move from the previous all-time high. This will be the retracement that I'm keeping an eye on. Now what we have is a dip within the retracement holding above the 0.5, which is basically 95K. The dip did break below 100K, and now we have that bullish correction within a downtrend, right? We're still making bigger picture lower lows and lower highs. Now what I am focusing on, and this is very similar to yesterday's video, is it's very, very possible and very likely that due to macro pressure, there's a lot of optimism for the next CPI, and there's a lot of optimism for potential rate cuts coming earlier than expected. But this is all just speculation, and because of that, I'm not taking it too seriously, and I want to focus on what makes sense, at least to me. So what I'm looking at is a potential deeper dip into the purple that will eventually play out, and of course, this can play out with a lot of fluctuations. It can create bullish fake outs, and I'm going to show you guys how this can play out, and I'm going to show you guys what I will be doing in case we don't reach the purple anymore and instead prepare for the next rally higher, potentially sooner rather than later. But regardless, even if we, both scenarios are up, rather we go up now, or hold above support, we go up, or we come down, finally have that deeper dip into the purple deep value, allowing that bearish liquidity to begin to fade away and allow the bulls to begin buying at very discount prices, push the price higher, and then start creating that FOMO environment that we see multiple times in Bitcoin, right? Very there's lengthy but fairly short periods of fear, and then quickly everything changes, and we've seen this happen so many times within the last 2 years, and actually more than that. So regardless of we holding support and going up higher, or we do break into the purple, regardless, both pathways lead to higher prices. And of course, the if we do have a deeper dip into the purple area, breaking below 100K, breaking below this swing low, it will create a much more attractive setup to buy in while Bitcoin is cheap. And just like, when I was making videos during this time, I said every time we break below 80K, I don't believe it's very sustainable because a lot of that deep value Bitcoin has been bought up. So I don't expect 80K dips to last very long. And as you can see, every time we broke below 80K within these 3 dips, we quickly recover out of it. And that's mainly just due to supply and demand. It's mainly due to, in my opinion, just, deep value Bitcoin being, a bit more scarce, and it's just not sustainable. So the price recovers quickly. And now, even though these are higher prices than we were down here, we've been seeing a lot of institutions acquiring more Bitcoin, and honestly, a lot more of it is. If you guys can look at the supply and demand chart for Bitcoin and what's going on, but a lot more Bitcoin is being bought up than is created. So basically, this is what I'm doing, because there is 3 potential scenarios, right? The first one being we're holding the 120 moving average, we're holding above it very, very well, and we're consolidating. And the volume and the RSI are starting to, consolidate as well. And we're preparing for a breakout. Now, if this breakout happens to the upside, well, at that point, then I'm just looking at previous extensions that were not filled at a previous date, for potentially using these as resistance as well, and then capturing smaller picture bearish corrections as we try to hold an uptrend higher. So regardless, the pathway is up, and then we'll trade the pathway higher within small fluctuations. But the second scenario, and I mean the first one, I'll tell you guys what I do. The first one is if it breaks higher, cool. I have 30K into BitU. It's a 2 times leveraged Bitcoin ETF. I'm more than happy with that. I have no problem with leaving it how it is and then just maxing out my profit, and I'm still gonna make good money with that. And so I'm not bothered by missing out acquiring more while before higher prices happen. I really don't care. But the second scenario will be price comes into the retracement for this area, and then it starts going higher. And of course, again, just like the previous one, this higher fluctuation or this higher move will have fluctuations within it, or we can try to determine how healthy the rally can be and if it's going to be sustainable enough to finally break into the green, new highs, and actually hold it. So I'm going to be paying very close attention to smaller picture fluctuations and seeing if micro supports are being supported or if they're failing, and that will help me decide, if I want to be more cautious, or at least, step away for a second and then let the price retrace. So it's just a way to analyze the health nature of the chart and the rally to see if it's sustainable. So that's the second thing. And if it were to happen, my first buy order to add another 10K to my BitU position will be within this area. The moment we break into the yellow, I will add another 10,000 into BitU, and I will show you guys as well. And I will add it, and if the support does not fail and it holds and we start going much higher, then I'll leave overall 50K at that point invested into BitU. And like I said, I'm completely happy with that. So the third scenario would be the price coming into this area. You can see some fluctuations in it, potentially some consolidation, maybe go above it to try to use the RSI or the 120 moving average as a resistance. which is very much possible. We can either hold within the yellow or break above it a little bit. If we go into the yellow and break above it, then I'll just be, keeping an eye on the price with another retracement to see if the price is going to, potentially have a bullish move out of it and continue the bull run, or if we're going to use that as a retracement or a resistance and respect it and then start going lower, right? So that's completely possible. And then the third scenario would just be, or actually no, sorry, yeah, the third one would be just consolidating within a potential break above, use the 120s moving average, and then finish a final wave lower. Now, the reason I'm being very, very, you know, paying very close attention to this purple deep value area below 100K is because for two reasons. The first one is simple. I've said this before. We're still in a downtrend. Every swing high that we create, so we have one here. So yeah, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Each one is lower than the other, while the overall swing lows are also lower than the previous one, right? This one, of course, was higher, but we were still fluctuating within it. We couldn't break the swing high. We go lower, and that's absolutely fine, right? So we're still in a downtrend. And then the other reason is that if you guys like Elliott waves, we have a nice 5-wave move down to complete an overall first wave, 3 waves up to complete the second wave, and now we're in a third wave with an overshooting fourth wave for that final third wave down. And if I were to use this to my, to add it onto my chart, it will simply look like this, where we come down to finish that first wave and the overall second wave, which is lower than, it's going to be right here. And then, oh wait, what am I doing? Yeah, so first wave down, second wave up. Oh wait, sorry, I messed this up. What am I doing? Kind of got distracted with me talking. So down, first wave, starting with that top one, and then we go up to this this bullish correction wave, right? And it creates a fib extension showing that we currently have the potential of investor sentiment bringing us down into this area. Now, we were filling this area, but seeing the median 1.38 and the 1.236 so close to the 0.5 retracement on the overall purple retracement, this is a very clear sign that tells me that, hey, there's a good chance that this support could fail to try to fill in this additional layer of, lower prices to complete the correction. But at the same time, macro environment being so bullish right now, being so optimistic, I don't want to shy away from getting in early to what could be a FOMO move happening soon. So right now, I would not be surprised if we hold the 120 moving average and try to make one more high, because if you can see, if there was enough bearish momentum, we would have easily continue breaking these swing lows within the smaller picture, and then go down lower and finally fill in this retracement, which also has nice imbalance within this, right? We have strong candles, strong volume that can easily act as a magnet in the future potentially. So even though we can easily pump up from here to hold that 120 moving average, I don't believe it's going to be very sustainable, and I will not be I will not be hyped whatsoever if the price breaks up over this swing high, because I just don't think it's sustainable, and I do believe that this retracement is much more likely than us just continuing higher from here and just making a new high. This is much more attractive and it makes a lot more sense. Now, once we reach into this area and I add another 10K, I will then be looking for weakness in it, because I would like to pay attention to the price closely to see if we can break through this support, finally have that deeper wave down. Because for this to be the end of the bearish move down, the correction, it's super shy. It's so close to the previous swing low. It's just not extreme enough, especially since I like to see Bitcoin try to break the 0.5 retracement, flirt with it. It happens so often that I'm not being biased towards it, but it happens so often where I don't want to shy away from it. So as of right now, regardless of what happens in the super short term, the rest of this weekend leading into higher volume market open next week, we can easily see any bullishness that can be forming right now to eventually fade away, fail, and we come down into the support. Once we come down into the support, again, like I said earlier, I'll have a new retracement to try to capture a bullish correction within a potential move that can go lower. So then we can determine how healthy that smaller correction is within the smaller picture, and to see if we're actually going to hold a smaller higher low from here. So to them, for us to move much higher. Now, I'm not going to worry about that just yet until it happens. So I'm looking for prices to come down into here very soon within the next few days, and then looking at how healthy this can be, how healthy this higher low can be, and if it can hold. And of course, regardless, I'll be looking for any weakness, because I am very convinced that we can see lower prices. It's just, the macro environment is overhyped. There's a lot of anticipation for positive news, and that can be baking in, into the price, and then we can start seeing large candles from institutions taking advantage of this liquidity. So I really am trying to position myself, and I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I'm trying to position myself to have 3 levels to buy. First level here, and if that breaks, I want to add once again between the 0.5 and the 0.35 extension within this area, and I'll do a final buy the moment we break below the 0.5, and at that point I will be very well positioned for much higher prices. So this overall swing trade can take a while to play out, but I'm being patient because I understand that this overhyped macro environment with anticipations is it's just not super sturdy. So I want to kind of want to pay very close attention to any signs that we're going to go up much higher, and let the profits run higher, and of course position myself in a great place to have enough liquidity to really take advantage of deep value once again if it were to happen. So there's not much going on, not much volume over this weekend. I'll update you guys on the chart soon, and if anything changes, I'll let you guys know. But so far, again, any push higher, I would be very cautious. I don't think it's sustainable. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.